surgeries?
No.
Imaging?
Yeah, no imaging. Everybody's good. Everybody's healthy. Look, I just got in here today, so I'm just getting grounded with what's happening upstairs. I know you guys want to know about what kind of our push is, our target is. I haven't really got a feel for that. I will say that our front office is always constantly trying to upgrade. You know the special spots that they live in. You know, it's the controllable starting pitching, always looking for bullpen pieces. I know you guys want to ask me if we're looking for a closer. I feel strongly enough between AJ Puck and the development of Justin Martinez, that's a really good place for us to start. And could live with that. And I'll leave it up to the group to how they develop the plan, how they push the ball forward to make our team as strong as possible. We won 89 games last year, and I've been having a tough time kind of digesting that, figuring out how we could win one more game, because that's where we live. We live in that space. We live in that space of winning that little inch that's going to help us win a game that will get us into the playoffs. So it does matter, and we're going to try to figure out the best way to put the most dynamic team on the field that's going to help us win as many games as possible. In the front office, I trust completely that they're doing that right now. Yeah. Yeah, of all the coaches that I feel for on the staff is probably the infield coach, because I see the game through an infielder's eyes, and that's my baby. Like, if I have one thing that I'm paying a lot of attention to, it's the infield defense, in particular the play and pace in which they play the game. And then, to find the right guy, the guy that was going to be able to use his own resourcefulness, his own expertise, and then tap into those around him to push to the next level. That was the type of personality that I was looking for. I have a long history with Sean Larkin, a very long history. I managed him in the minor leagues. I was his infield teacher for 4 or 5 of his minor league seasons. So I feel very comfortable knowing the personality and what drives him every single day. I've also got a chance to know him as a staff member on the other side of it as our farm director. So I know there's incredible initiative and creativity. So that's what I was looking for. It just was a really easy fit for me to say, step into this role, develop, and push, and make us better.
How did he respond to the opportunity to get back on the field? Just emotionally, I talked to him briefly. He seemed like super excited.
Yeah, I think that's in his blood. I think that's where he wants to be. He wants to be on the diamond, in the dirt, getting dirty with the boys. That's part of what made him the player that he was. So I know that he did some different things to get him to that point. Being the farm director for the Arizona Diamondbacks is not an easy job. It's a very demanding job. And he accepted that role, but I think when the opportunity came for him to get back into a uniform, he was really excited about it. So I spoke to him a couple times. I had to interview him. I wanted to make sure that he was on the right page. We spoke probably for about a half an hour, and he just drove home so many well thought out answers that told me this is where he wanted to be. This is the space he wanted to live in.
How long, to your point, how long did it take you to digest how the season ended?
Yeah, I was bitter for a while. I'm not going to lie, and I wasn't going to run from it and pretend that I wasn't. It was probably the meeting with ownership. Sat down with Ken and Derek, and I was able to offload exactly how I was feeling, and that always makes somebody feel better. And they they gave me some positive reinforcements. We understood what happened during the year, and we talked it out. We talked about it for a good 10 or 15 minutes. That was probably 10 days, 2 weeks after the season. I don't know exactly what the day was, but probably 2 weeks before I finally said, okay, it's time to move on. I got to get away from this, what happened. And you always target what happened most recently, right? You're always looking at game 155 through 162. There were so many things that happened during the course of the year that we need to get better at. And pitching is one of them. That's why we had to make some of the improvements that we made with the teachers. I felt like there were parts of our infield defense that could have gotten better. So we'll see. We'll see how it looks in 2025. And it was turn the gears, start looking at 25 because I don't want to waste time thinking about what we did last year.
You mentioned the pitching. I'm sure you love to see your offense do what it did last year.
Right.
Knowing how much you value pitching and defense. Was it like a, I don't know, more frustrating 89-win season than maybe you would think?
89 wins is a very successful season. It's a solid season. In a lot of cases, I don't know. I know what got us in the playoffs in 23. I don't know what would happen in the years past, but I think in a lot of cases it gets you into the big dance. But yeah, I pride myself on talking about and believing in pitching going hand in hand with defense because it's what gets you to win a world championship. It's my gut feel. I don't think it's a crazy recipe. It's worked before in the past. So yeah, it was a different year, but when you're winning games and you got 80 plus wins and you're charging at a spot, you don't know how you got there. You don't think about it. I thought about it a little bit afterwards, and yeah, I think we need to pitch the baseball better for sure. And I think there's some plays on defense I feel like we gotta make a little more efficiently, and we will. We're gonna work at it.
You guys, just curious if you got a chance to see any of Roki Sasaki, just your impressions of him on film and out there in Japan.
Yes, I have. I've gotten a chance to watch him a little bit in bits and pieces, and things that are sent to me. Yeah, it's a lot of fastball. It's a swing and miss split, and he's going to be a really good starter here at the major league level immediately. So I've been very impressed by what I've seen so far. Yeah.
Have you guys decided on a role for Dre Jamison coming back from Tommy Johnson?
Yeah, we're gonna let him get some innings and log some innings and stretch him out and just see where that goes. Now, is he going to be a full-time starter next year? I don't know that answer, but I want to make sure that if we have a need for him being one of the 13 best pitchers and we put him in the bullpen, that he's able to do that too. So he'll be stretched out initially, but how far he goes and how many innings he throws next year is yet to be determined.
With Slade, I guess you guys in the middle of the season decided to go the bullpen route with him. Do you see that changing going into next year?
We're going to do something very similar with Slade, right? We want to. I feel like as you stretch guys out and you give them the ability to repeat that delivery, you're gonna find out where you're standing and what kind of stuff you have, and make improvements a little bit more drastic, a little bit more rapidly. So we'll do the same thing with Slade as well. Three free agents that are what?
You got three free guys, key guys who are free agents?
Yeah.
Slots,
a little bit, yeah. It's a little bit overwhelming at times to think about if everybody's moving on. And like I said, I don't know what the plan is, but I'm proud of those guys for putting themselves in that position to create some free agency interest. Specifically Christian Walker, right? I mean, think about where he was a waiver claim, right? And he reinvented himself and turned his whole life around by hard work and dedication. It's just a great story. So I'm really proud of him. And wherever he lands, I'm gonna be super happy for him. But does he land on our team? I don't know what that answer is. But yeah, I think it could be a little bit overwhelming if we have some space to fill the way we potentially could with Jock and Walk moving on. That's a lot of offense. So yeah, could be a little overwhelming to think about, but we'll figure it out. Yeah, I think Pave's name's in the mix there. Yeah, I don't see why not. You know what I'm going to say. Pave can hit. He can hit, and he's still developing. And I know that he wants an opportunity. He's been very patient. He's been back in the minor leagues for the past few years when maybe he shouldn't have been, but he's took it in stride, and he wants this next opportunity, and I know he's hungry.
The trend of shorter starts by starting pitchers has continued unabated really for 100 years, but it's accelerated lately. You came in, 21 outs was the mantra, right? And now, it's down to 5 innings a game, literally 5.1. Is there a floor there for you, or are you thinking about maybe internally trying to stop that trend from going any further, or reversing it?
I mean, I don't want to single-handedly say what direction the game is going in, but it seems like it's more on the bullpen, and I feel like you're going to fatigue the bullpen, right? But there's creative ways to work through that. I think teams shuffle through bullpen pieces to preserve them. I believe in starting pitching. It's who I am in my core. I know that we've had this conversation many times. I was watching the 1981 World Series, Dodgers, Yankees, and Mike Torres through nine innings. Was it Mike Torres? Okay, right. It was 140 plus pitches, right? So that just doesn't happen in today's game, and there's reasons why. But I think starting pitching organizes your day and makes things look really good or really sloppy. And when they pitch deep into the game, you can set your bullpen pieces up and preserve them. So I would like to see our starters, if 5.1, a little over 5.1 was our average, I think we need to be better for sure.
You have a change of coach. I was going to say, how big of a challenge is it being a division when your payroll is dwarfed by the Dodgers and now, of course, it'll be the Mets with Soto's contract in the East?
We know what the ground rules are. We know what the landscape is, and we embrace that challenge. We know that we got to just be a little bit better technically, a little bit sharper mentally, and just prepare ourselves every single day to compete on that level with the superstar type of teams that the Dodgers and the Padres had last year. So I love watching the players play. I love watching good baseball players, and when you got them in one dugout at one time, I hate that we play against them. I enjoy the game, but it forces us to be better, and I don't mind that at all. So is it daunting? Of course. As we sit here right now, and there's curiosity about where the next set of free agents are going, we got to embrace it. We know what where our landscape is. Our owner told us where we got to be. We're going to adhere to that, and we accept that.
It's the cable deals are really hurting some clubs, but not others.
Yeah.
The Mets seem to be doing okay. You guys are affected.
We are.
Is that at all part of the conversation? Like, it's not what was us, but at least what do you guys do to be better? And how do you compete against some teams that are still getting the huge price?
I mean, I have a personal thought about that, but you guys don't care about that, I'm sure. I think that it's at the level of ownership, and if they need to figure out how to level the playing field, I think they should. That's what I personally think about it. But at the end of the day, we know that we're challenged financially. Things are a little bit different for us than they are the Mets, the Yankees, the Dodgers, and some other clubs, and we're okay with that. We love that challenge. But I think that's way above my pay grade to answer that question from a more technical standpoint.
Can I ask you about Soto?
Of course.
In your division?
Yeah.
You battled against him that year, and as long as he's been in the league.
Yeah.
What makes that guy different than almost every young hitter?
I think it's his bat-to-ball skills, the balance that he shows, and the ability to control the zone and not swing at bad pitches. He's a tough out. He's willing to sacrifice a strike to get into the at-bat. He understands what the at-bat's asking for. The first time I saw him, he was 20 years old. I could not believe he was 20 years old. He carried himself like he was 30. He'd been around the league for a long time. So I just think overall, if you're going to ask me one thing, it's the hand-eye bat-to-ball skill. It's elite. He knows where the ball is going, and he knows where the barrel is going to find the baseball.
In your experience, does that skill age well? Could be signed now.
Till 40. He's going to have 20 years of Major League Baseball experience under his belt. I think there's only a few players that have done that at a very elite level. I certainly have every belief that he will be the guy that can do it, for sure.
There's always been this Ted Williams comp.
Yeah.
You were in Boston.
Yeah.
You know what that means.
Yeah.
If it's a compliment, but is it real?
Yeah, Ted Williams, right? I mean, I grew up, my dad taught me everything about Ted Williams. That's a tough one for me. He's probably the greatest hitter of all time. But I think Soto's on a different level than the rest of the league at times. I mean, 41 home runs, the OPS, the numbers that he has are not lucky. It is because he has an incredible ability to impact the baseball, and he understands what each at-bat's asking for. So Comparing him to Ted Williams, I think we need to see a few more years of it. Yeah, for sure. Bonds?
Everything you just explained about.
Yeah, Bonds did it. Yeah. Yeah, a little bit like Barry Bonds, right? Barry Bonds, I think, early in his career was trying to figure some things out, and then got really good in his last 12 or 13 years of his career. So, I feel like that's what Soto could potentially do. And Barry Bonds was elite, one of the best ever, for sure.
What do you think of the Goldman at bats?
I always say it. I'll support what the commissioner says, and what the commissioner's talking about, and what Major League Baseball is willing to do. But I don't think it would work very well for me. Yeah.
How so? You're more of a traditionalist.
I think that it's changing the DNA of a lineup and the construction of a lineup, and it would change the way you could attack a lineup. It just doesn't seem like it's fair.
So even if you could have Cattell bat twice in a row in the ninth inning or something like that.
Outweighs I mean, for sure, but I guess maybe messing with the DNA is something like you walk Ohtani to get to Ohtani.
Yeah.
Right? It just doesn't sound right to me. So that's more along what I'm thinking. Of course I want Cattell to hit twice back to back, right? Of course I do. But it's an interesting concept, and I'll support it if it gets to that point.
Last question. Corbin Carroll.
Yeah.
I wasn't aware of this during the season, but he had more called strikes above the zone. Than any other hitter in major leagues last year. 106.
Right. I didn't know it was that number, but I knew it was extremely high. Correct.
How much did that contribute to maybe some of his early struggles? I mean, with everything else was going on, it seemed like a pretty unfair disadvantage for him to have to deal with.
Yeah, I think because of his size, umpires at times would get thrown off and they would call the high strike. I'd look at the iPad during the game, and there was times it happened twice in at bat to him. And we never know it because of his demeanor. So I credit him for his work ethic to try and figure out how to get through it, and his focus to not let him force him to get out of the at bat. But yeah, I think he was chasing a pitch that it took him a little while to learn how to hit, and the umpires, because they called 106 of them, that's a lot out of the zone. It might have been a little bit more of a challenge for him because of that number.
You're looking forward to 2026 being able to challenge that?
Is that going to happen in 2026?
That's the rumor.
Yeah. I'm worried about tomorrow. Yeah. So, let alone 2026. All right. Thanks, you guys.
Thank you, Torey.
Yeah.